Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that.
China manufactures a vast majority of luxury goods, sometimes legally, sometimes questionably, but always quietly. That's how it was until last week.
They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own factories.
Hermès, the pinnacle of opulence fashion, is reportedly entangled in a legal dispute against Chinese producers following a wave of viral TikTok videos. And the internet isn't letting this one pass. These viral clips didn't just stir the pot, they ignited a firestorm in video after video.
Chinese factories are speaking up, and that too on TikTok. Take a Birkin bag, for example. Video claims that a bag is made in China for $1,400, all things included. And how much does Hermès sell it for? $38,000. That's a markup of over 2,600%. Now, those Chinese factories are speaking up, and that too on TikTok.
Do you recognize this style, this bag? Of course you do. For the past more than 30 years, we have been OEM factory for most of the luxury brands around the world.
Users claiming to be directly inside Chinese production centers began displaying Hermès-style bags, allegedly crafted in the very same factories used by high-end brands. They weren't just showing similar designs, they were revealing factory secrets, exposing production lines, raw materials, and completed handbags that appeared identical to the coveted Birkin and Kelly models. And the price was a shock to the system for every luxury buyer out there instead of the staggering $10,000 to $150,000. Price tags. Hermès typically commands,
Our price is only 1/10 of those from the boutique. But we have exactly the same design, same material, and we're even the same group of people who have been making this bag.
Made in France, Hermès, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Saint Laurent, Hermès, all of these. They put this stuff is made in China. It would cost too much money to make it in France.
These producers claimed they could deliver a nearly identical bag straight to your door for $1,400 or less. Suddenly, the aura of exclusivity Hermès had spent decades building was ripped away like a flimsy label. Influencers seized the story, stitching the TikToks, reacting in astonishment, and questioning if the luxury industry had just been publicly stripped by its own so-called shadow producers. These weren't minor accusations either. The videos surged with millions of views.
Donald Trump just pissed off the wrong country. China is currently exposing all luxury brands.
More than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China.
Your Prada, Gucci, and Louis Vuitton, they're all made in China. There's no such thing as a knockoff. All your branded goods are made in the same factories, stored in the same warehouses.
Trending across fashion TikTok, YouTube commentary, and even spilling into mainstream media. And while Hermès struggled to contain the fallout, the damage to their brand allure had already been done. Because if the bags really were being made in Chinese factories with none of the artisanal European heritage Hermès clings to, then what exactly were consumers paying for the craftsmanship, the exclusivity, or just the label the fashion industry felt the shockwaves instantly?
Hermès has been exposed, but a lot of y'all want to comment saying like, oh my God, don't be ridiculous. It's a lie. Hermès is made in France. You guys, the people that run the industry, that know this in and out, are coming out and exposing that China is telling the truth.
How much it costs at the boutique? 300,000 USD. You know what our price is? Less than 1/10 of the boutique one.
Luxury watchdogs, brand investors, and even rival designers started posing dangerous questions. Was Hermès just another inflated middleman? Could these TikTok whistleblowers be revealing something much darker, something the entire luxury sector wanted? Hidden, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a PR issue, it was a full-blown credibility crisis, and Hermès was forced to either push back or risk being dethroned in public view. But the most shocking part? This was just the beginning.
Once upon a time, luxury was made in Europe. France had Chanel, Italy had Gucci, the UK had Burberry. The West made these brands. The East made the knockoffs.
Are your luxury, super expensive designer bags really made in China?
In these TikTok videos, alleged Chinese producers don't just hint. They boldly proclaim that they are the original creators behind some of the most coveted luxury bags in the world, including the iconic Birkin and Kelly from Hermès. The creators, often filming from what seem to be busy factory floors or well-lit showrooms, hold up nearly identical replicas of Hermès bags and casually claim, "This is the same bag. We made it first." Some even go further, pointing to rolls of leather hardware bins and branded dust bags, claiming that what customers believe are French artisanal creations are actually produced in industrial zones in Guangdong or Jiangxi. But what truly fueled the scandal was the price tag. These producers claim you can buy these so-called same-source bags directly from them for as little as $1,400. That's not just a bargain. It's a devastating price revelation that undermines Hermès's entire business model, a bag that retails for $25,000 or more in a boutique. These TikTok videos are saying it's essentially the same item being sold behind the scenes for 95%. Less the implication you're not paying for luxury, you're paying for deception to make matters worse. Many of the videos don't just stop at the production claim. They show invoices, material receipts, and even contracts with blurred-out names. Of course, that allegedly tie these producers to global luxury brands. One viral clip even shows a side-by-side of a $50,000 Birkin purchased at a Paris flagship and a factory-direct bag shipped from China, and visually you could hardly tell them apart. The commentary in these videos was brutal. One gets you on a wait list, the other ships next week. The message is clear and harsh. According to these TikTok insiders, luxury brands like Hermès are doing little more than attaching a logo, inflating the price, and feeding customers a fantasy of exclusivity. The leather is the same, the stitching is the same. The difference between marketing and margin, if that's true, then the foundation of the luxury market starts to collapse, because if brands aren't handcrafting their products in the way they claim, if they're simply rebranding mass-produced goods from overseas and charging exorbitant premiums, then what exactly are buyers investing in? The status, the illusion, the lie? And as these videos continue to spread with millions of views and growing traction, it's becoming harder for Hermès and other luxury giants to dismiss the narrative or stop it. Because TikTok isn't just exposing counterfeit culture. It's allegedly exposing the entire system behind the luxury price tag. And if that system falls apart, the entire industry might go down with it next. Hermès responds, but not how you'd expect. Hermès has firmly rejected these claims categorically, aggressively, and with a tone that screams damage control in official statements. The brand doubled down on its decades-long narrative. Every Hermès bag is handcrafted in European ateliers by highly trained artisans, many of whom spend years mastering the craft before even touching a Birkin or Kelly. According to Hermès, their bags aren't products, they're art made by individual craftspeople who sign their work with hidden stamps inside each bag. That's the story they've sold for years, and it's the story they're refusing to let crumble under the weight of TikTok exposes. The company insists that any suggestion of Chinese mass production is not just inaccurate, it's offensive to the heritage and prestige they've cultivated for over 180 years. Hermès doesn't just rely on branding. They say they rely on legacy. They reference their small workshops in France and Italy, where each bag takes up to 48 hours to complete. They cite the proprietary leathers, the painstaking saddle stitching, the hand-painted edges. Everything is supposedly done with obsessive precision, zero shortcuts, and absolutely no outsourcing to bulk producers overseas behind the scenes. However, insiders say Hermès is in full-on crisis mode. PR teams are rushing, legal threats are reportedly soaring, brand consultants are being called into urgent meetings because here's the harsh reality. No matter how many times Hermès declares their innocence, the images from those TikTok videos of stacks of Birkin lookalikes rolling off Chinese assembly lines are already etched in people's minds. The damage is visual, emotional, viral, and denials, no matter how strong, don't trend. Like evidence does. In fact, some luxury analysts have noted that Hermès' response, while essential, might have come too late. By the time the brand issued its formal rebuttal, the TikTok videos had already garnered millions of views, reactions, and shares. Influencers were ridiculing the brand. Fashion YouTubers were doing side-by-side comparisons. X was flooded with hot takes. Like, so we've been paying $25K for Made in China this whole time. Even parody accounts jumped in suggesting Hermès rename itself Hermès AliExpress Edition. But the real blow, Hermès didn't provide proof. No factory tours, no video footage from their ateliers, no transparency initiative. Just words, and in the age of receipts and screenshots, words aren't enough. Their reluctance to go public with counter-evidence left critics raging. If you're telling the truth, they argued, then show us the artisans, show us the facilities, show us the truth, because right now, the only side showing anything visually compelling is the side claiming Hermès isn't being honest. And that silence, that refusal to show behind the scenes, it's raising suspicions in all the wrong ways. Luxury handbag authenticators have spoken on the controversy, and while some of the viral TikTok bags look almost identical at first glance, the experts aren't convinced. According to them, there are still subtle discrepancies that reveal the fakes if you know what to look for. The most common red flags: handle shapes that are just slightly off, leather grain that feels too uniform or artificial, and stitching that doesn't match the impossibly precise saddle stitch technique Hermès artisans are trained to perfect. Some bags also lack the refined structure and weight balance that come from authentic construction methods. One expert even noted that the spacing between the hardware and the edge of the bag was just a few millimeters too tight, a clear giveaway to a trained eye. Others observed that while the exterior can be strikingly close to the real thing, the interior, lining, embossing, and foil stamps on these so-called factory direct bags are inconsistent with Hermès standards. Still, the fact that it takes this level of expertise to spot the differences is what's sending shivers through the luxury world. If it takes an authenticator with a magnifying glass and years of training to call it out, how many average consumers are walking around thinking they bought the real thing, or worse, actually did, and are now doubting it? And if the fakes are this good, what does that say about Hermès' hold on its brand? The situation has sparked a wider conversation about the pricing and authenticity of luxury goods. Consumers are questioning the value proposition of high-end brands and the ethics of buying counterfeit products. Some argue that the appeal of owning a luxury item at a reduced cost is tempting, while others emphasize the importance of supporting genuine craftsmanship from a legal standpoint. The case highlights the challenges luxury brands face in protecting their intellectual property rights. The spread of counterfeit goods, especially through platforms like TikTok, poses serious threats to brand integrity and consumer trust. This controversy serves as a snapshot of the broader issues confronting the luxury fashion industry as counterfeits become more advanced and digital platforms enable the spread of unauthorized products. Brands must navigate complex legal and ethical landscapes to safeguard their reputations. In conclusion, the alleged lawsuit by Hermès against Chinese producers underscores the ongoing struggle between luxury brands and counterfeit producers. It raises vital questions about authenticity, consumer behavior, and the future of luxury fashion in an increasingly digital and globalized